Because I'm a believer does not mean that I cannot commingle. I'm not necessarily, well, I'll just use that word. So, sin doesn't scare me. What do you mean? I have to make it a blanket statement like that, because I was going to start it off by naming separate different things, and I was going to say they don't scare me. But let me say first that sin doesn't scare me. I know that sounds crazy. Sin separates us from God. I know that sounds crazy, but this is what I'm trying to say. Homosexuality doesn't scare me. I'm not what some would say, homophobe. People that thieves don't scare me. I mean, I'm just thinking about the stuff that people do. I'm thinking about the tangible or the outside sins, because the truth of the matter is we all got something going on. It's just a lot of times it's internal and nobody would know unless they have the gift of discernment, or they can, the gift of discernment, or they can just read. They can see. So most people have stuff. If you don't, you're lying. And so now that's another sin. Liars don't scare me. I'm not afraid of liars. So I'm trying to paint a picture here before I get into what I'm trying to talk about. Because I'm a believer does not mean that I'm afraid of those things. As a matter of fact, I can't be afraid of them if I'm going to win those people over for Christ. Do you understand? See, I'm so tired of people trying to paint believers in a light that because we are believers, then we hate everybody else. Or we automatically think that we are better than. Now, there is a better life when you understand who you are, and when you understand that you're made in the image of God, and when you understand that when you accept Jesus as your personal Savior and you filled with the Holy Ghost, that greater is He that is in you than he that's in the world. That makes you more than a conqueror. What does that mean? That you can conquer those things that had you bound, right? See, so it doesn't make you a better person, because as an individual, as a person, your righteousness in the sight of God is still as filthy rags. So we don't glory in ourselves. That's what I want everybody to understand. So as believers, it's still a daily walk. I just have the privilege of knowing Him as my personal Savior. So, although I say homosexuality is wrong and it's a sin, I don't hate the homosexual. I'm not afraid of the homosexual. Although I say adultery is a sin, it's wrong, I'm not afraid of an adulterer. I'm not. Now, if you a murderer, I'm probably not going to be around you. But my point is, I'm not afraid of the sin. If you are a person and you have seeable sin, tangible sin, I'm not afraid. All right. And as real believers, we're not. Now, with that being said, there still is a fine line that we have to walk as believers. Because we're not afraid, we still cannot be accepting. And then there's a fine line between accepting and tolerable. This is tough today. I didn't mean to get this deep, but this is important. This is very, very serious, because it's so easy for us to be bamboozled, because we let a little in at a time. A little comes in at a time. And you know, I always talk about the cooked frog, and people say I tell the story wrong, but this is my version of the story. All right? A frog's inhabitants or habitat is cold water. If you put the frog in hot water, it's going to immediately jump out of the water, because he immediately knows this ain't my situation. So he immediately jumps out. So in that instance, it's impossible for the frog to become cooked. But put that same frog in that same cold water. Turn it up just a little bit. Frog gonna be chilling. He ain't even gonna realize it. Then turn it up a little bit more. Frog chilling. Not even realize. Might even go to sleep. Turn it up a little bit more. Then a little bit more. Then now it's at the temperature that it was in when the frog jumped out in the beginning. What happened? Now the frog is cooked. Because that same hot temperature that he could not live in, that was not sustainable sustainable for his life, now, little by little, it killed him. What am I saying? Our acceptance of things is not going to get us all at once, because we're smart enough to see it all at once. And so we're smart enough to say, nah, that's not cool. We can't rock like that. Nope, can't do it. That's wrong. And we'll take the heat for it, or what? I mean, whatever. We don't care, but we'll take the heat for it if there's a such thing. But what happens is it comes little by little. Little by little. How does it come? TV. What we see, what we hear. So a lot of it is through television. It's subtle though. Like, you're watching a commercial. While you're watching the commercial, you might be doing something else. But all the while, it's two men on the screen holding hands. Now they bold enough to kiss. But it's so subtle, you don't even make a big deal about it. Not because you don't still see it as wrong, but because it was such a subtlety that you might have missed it. But it still affects the atmosphere. Just because you missed it don't mean it didn't affect the atmosphere. It happens in subtleties. Another example, and I know y'all heard this before, especially when you used to listen on Kingdom Sound, when I had the show on Kingdom Sound, you heard me say this. Going on an airplane. Who in the world, okay, well, a lot of people do, but when you're on the jet bridge, are you really paying attention to what's on the walls, the advertisements on the walls? Not really. I usually don't. But it was one time in particular that I got caught up in a line on the jet bridge. And what did I see? Two men on a Delta advertisement, advertising first class or something like that. Two men hugged up. Subtle. Now, if it wasn't a line in the jet bridge, I probably wouldn't have noticed that. But does it affect the atmosphere? Absolutely it does. What about the children that were with their parents that was walking down that jet bridge? How unfair is it to start them out? I'm just going to say the wrong way. It's the wrong way. Yeah, it's the wrong way. And so I promise you I'm getting somewhere, but I gotta labor with this for a moment. So the other day, we were talking election talk. We were talking campaign talk. And Obama came up again. And we talked about how, well, I said that he did something that's going to affect generations to come. My children, their children are going to be affected by the advocacy of same-sex unions and same-sex marriages. Now, and this is what I said. Because when I said what I said, there was a particular person that said, what is with y'all? Y'all hate gay people? I said, no, absolutely not. He said, I bet you got gay people in your family or gay person in your family. I said, absolutely. So no, I don't hate gay people. And here's the thing. Gay people are always going to be there. Always. They were in the Bible. It was thousands of years ago. So how is it a new idea that we can't do genocide on homosexuals and lesbians and gay people? That's ridiculous. That's not the issue. So this person said, if someone is a thief and they're breaking in houses, I mean, how you're not gonna love them, you're not gonna treat them right, or you're not gonna support them if they're your family? And I said, yeah, I'm gonna love them and I'm gonna support them, but here's the difference. They're not going to be able to stand in solidarity with the whole group of thieves and have a thief convention and march and gain the support of others, because this is a freedom that they feel like they should have. I want you to understand, this is how ridiculous this thing has become. This is how ridiculous it is. I can't be mad at you for being gay. If you feel like that's who you are and what you are, then you do that. But I really want you to understand that this is not a cause that we all need to champion. It's not even natural. It's not even scientifically responsible. So they were saying that, okay, so what I said to them is, because we were talking about the Trump presidency in comparison to the Obama presidency. And I said, I'm not a fan of either, but what put me over the top was the whole advocacy of same-sex marriages. Like I said, they're going to be who they are without an advocate. They don't need an advocate. The adulterer can't have an advocate, but they might feel justified in what they're doing. But just because you feel justified doesn't mean that you're right. And I'm not trying to get into a conversation about right and wrong, because I ain't trying to police nobody. But what I am saying is, you're going to do what you're going to do, whether I sign off on it or not. Why do I have to sign off on it? And then to insult us and put it in a category of civil rights and human rights is unfair. I said to the people that I was talking to, I said, we should be more offended by that than we are by anything that Donald Trump says, because we already know what it is when it comes to Donald Trump. But when we start messing with those other issues, now we're insulting God. And how be it we insult the intelligence of God. We got to rethink this thing. We have to rethink this thing. Nobody is without sin. And this is what the masses don't understand. They always think that somebody is condemning somebody for being who they are. I'm not condemning you. I am saying that Jesus loves you and he can save you. He loves me. He can save me. Like, nobody is better than anybody. But we got to stop this foolishness. We have to stop being so accepting that we become cooked. And now our children are confused as ever. No. Things happen. People get molested. People get raped. All kinds of things. Things do happen. And God does heal. God does fix. God does mend. We can't give up on God when it's convenient. He can do anything. He can fix that. We've given up. We've stopped. We can't. If we have to be born again, then we have to be born again. And I'm saying that because some people feel like they were born that way. Well, we all were born sinners. We don't have to go somewhere and learn how to sin. So you may have been. And I don't even know. I didn't mean to get this deep into it. But if you are homosexual and you listen to me right now, understand, I love you. I don't hate you. Who am I? What I am saying is there is a way that is right. That's all I'm saying. Choose right. Will it be hard? Yep. Is it hard for somebody that overeats to stop overeating? Absolutely. Are they sinning when they overeat? Yep. It's just as simple. If somebody's married and they're having sex with somebody else, it might be hard for them to stop because sin is all in them, in their nature. But is it wrong? Yes, it is. So ain't nobody mad at you, but it's time for us to stop with the foolishness. And we need to stop comparing it to our struggle as black people. That is so unfair to our race and the things that our ancestors went to. Y'all talking about voting and them dying to vote. How about just dying from being taken from their country? How about being enslaved, being separated from their children, and never seeing them again sometimes? You choosing to be in love with somebody and marry somebody of the same sex will never, ever compare to that. Don't group that together. And that's what I wanted everybody to understand about Black Lives Matter. Don't do that. That's an insult. I took too long on that. But the reason I took way too long. The reason I went there is because the Pope, we know they corrupt anyway, but anyways, Pope Francis backed same-sex civil unions. He a little late too, though, by the way. But so let me just get into it a little bit. Pope Francis has given the most explicit support to same-sex civil unions in a move that is likely to further enrage his conservative opponents in the Catholic Church. His comments came in an interview in a documentary film, Francesco, which premiered at the Rome Film Festival on Wednesday. He said, homosexual people have a right to be in a family. They are children of God and have a right to a family. Nobody should be thrown out or be made miserable over it. What we have to create is a civil union law. That way, they are legally covered. Now, that's already They are. That's what happened in 2016. What is he talking about? And understand this. Here's another thing I want everybody to understand. If some homosexual people come to church, you better not put them out. Because if you put them out, then you leave with them. And nobody's saying, and that's what I'm saying. Stop trying to make it like everybody is against the homosexual. No, we're not. We're just saying there is a right way and a wrong way. That's all. If you can't say that homosexuality is wrong, or if you can't say to the homosexual without inciting a fuss or fight that homosexuality is wrong, then nobody can tell a cheater that you're wrong. Nobody can tell a thief you're wrong. Nobody can tell a murderer. That's a gory one right there. That's tough. But nobody can tell them that they're wrong, because we always love to say that no sin is greater than the other one, right? And sin is sin. It's sin. Like lust is sin, right? Perversion is sin. And I was going to read this whole article on the Pope, but I've taken too long. So if you want to hear what the Pope read, go to, I'm sure every news outlet has it by now, but The Guardian is where I was going to read the article from. If you want to read what the Pope said, how can a religious leader stand up for homosexuality? That's ridiculous. You may as well stand up for bigamy. But here's the point. What am I trying to? I'm trying to get to. We have to become mature enough to understand that people have issues. I don't hate you. I don't. But just because I express to you the difference between right and wrong and where you err, don't automatically put me in the hate bucket. Also, if I can't tell you that, then you can't tell somebody else that pedophilia is wrong. Understand that homosexuality lives in the same neighborhood of pedophilia. I know I'm too deep this morning, but I'm out here now. See, if you're a man and you have a penis, your structure implies your function. And I'm sorry if you got children listening. I'm sorry. If you're a man and you have a penis, and a woman's vagina does not do it for you, or you're not attracted by that, or that if you desire anything else outside of that. Now understand, remember I said before, things happen. People are molested sometimes, people are raped sometimes, and things happen, and that takes you off course. But God has a remedy for that too. But if that doesn't happen, and this is just an innate desire that you have, that's teeter-tottering on the line of pedophilia. So, and I'm not saying that to judge a gay person right now or a homosexual right now, but what I am saying is, if you are in a monogamous homosexual relationship, how can you then tell somebody that's struggling with pedophilia that they're wrong? Or don't you have the right to tell them that they're wrong? Just like if a person is struggling with adultery, you should be able to tell them that they're wrong too, right? And so we have to become mature enough to have the conversation while putting everybody in a hate bucket. That's all I'm trying to say. So as believers, do not allow acceptance and tolerance to make us mute. Don't get so uncomfortable with the conversation that we can't still effectively change lives, because we have to change lives. We have to be able to show the love of Jesus Christ, but we have to also be able to show up at the conversation. I did not mean to go there this morning. Don't turn me off. Matter of fact, let me get out of this. I'm going to get back to the music. I'll be back. It's the Mike Brown Morning Show. When we come back, we're going to talk. We might talk about a little bit about, I may play some clips from the debate, but we're going to get into the first chapter of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back.
Right here. The Mike Brown Morning Show. Wake up, baby, won't you wake up? Hit it in the morning. Heard weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Urban Uplift.
But mentally, it changed his whole presentation. And I agree with Romero. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So who won this debate?
America.
Okay. Explain.
Okay, good. I mean, you can put Trump. He changed his style, but you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig.
Absolutely.
But
President Trump answers no questions because he has no answers. So he talks about I'm not approaching because I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but when you just compare apples to apples, apples to oranges, whatever the proverbial statement is, he's not saying anything. He has no answers, no clarity, no vision. He keeps talking about the health care. So let's really think about that. If the Supreme Court decides that it is unconstitutional for the Affordable Care Act, 20 million Americans immediately overnight will lose their health care coverage. And he said over 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, that there was a health care plan to replace Obamacare. But this is what I picked up by observation. I'm not even going to say in the spirit, but by observation. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just laughing.
There is nothing to dislike about the Affordable Care Act. Donald Trump just wants the credit. He just wants the credit that he did something. It's two things that he wants the credit on: the wall and the policy of healthcare. Because if you notice throughout history, and I digress here, throughout history and through all presidential leadership, they had literally a physical monument of some sort and a policy. Barack Obama had the Smithsonian, the African American Museum, and the Obamacare. That was major. FDR as relates to the voting rights. So every president, President George W. Bush, the Patriot Act. So every president had a leading policy. He has none. So he's trying to steal from the black man. I'm done.
But then he also likes to say what Biden didn't do, what Barack Obama didn't do. But the thing, and even I forgot, because I got more into politics really during Donald Trump's presidency because how ridiculous he is. But I forgot that Obama, the Republicans stood in his way on a lot of issues, and there are a lot of things that Trump could have done that or pushed for that he didn't do. The anti-lynching bill.
Oh my! He reacted to voting rights.
Yes, the anti-lynching bill. He didn't allow that to go through. The allowing Juneteenth to be a national holiday. He allowed one Republican to stand and block that, and it was one Republican who stood in the way of the anti-lynching bill. Yeah, so let's talk about some things you haven't done. Let's talk about the 400 the 400 bills passed by the Democratic House that the Republicans have sat on because they want to do nothing but pack the courts with judges.
Mitch McConnell, and I think of course, it's just like a football game or a basketball game. In hindsight, or in real time, we all are sitting in the comfort of our recliners or our couches. We're not in the game. But when Vice President Joe Biden was asked, well, why didn't the Obama administration do this, that, and the other? Joe Biden said, because we had a Republican Senate, and got silent. And Donald Trump's response was, you've got to talk to him. You've got to negotiate. Well, that's hypocritical, because to this date, he has not spoken to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. He won't meet with her. He won't meet with her. He won't talk to her. And that is not leadership. In leadership, you have to talk to your foes and your friends. And that would have been my rebuttal immediately, and said, but you refuse to even talk to Nancy Pelosi across the aisle. And he is still to this moment saying red states, blue states. Man, are you the president of the United States, or are only people who voted for you? That's problematic.
That is most divisive, and that's a very good point. He hasn't spoken to Nancy Pelosi directly in a year.
Correctly. Absolutely.
Well, let me give some pushback here though. I want to go back to this Affordable Care Act, because so now, okay, what's sad is that Donald Trump is the person that's saying these things, because we know him to be, for lack of a better word right now, I just want to use this word, a buffoon. Like that, we know him to be that, right? So that discounts anything that he says, even if it has some validity. So here's the thing with the Affordable Care Act. Is it a noble idea for everyone to have health care? It absolutely is. But I think where the disconnect is that what they're saying is, taking all the politics out of it, there is a better way to do it. Somebody just got to figure out the better way. And here's why. And I just found this out maybe a few weeks ago. The top 1% have to underwrite the bottom 40% of the cost of the Affordable Care Act. And that's where the pushback comes in at. So that means the top 1% has to pay $600 in benefits for the lower 40%.
Well, I have no sympathy. I'm sorry to cut you off. I pay $323 per month.
But I'm not in top 1%. But do you pay that for yourself, or did they say?
I absolutely pay. Okay. I absolutely pay that for everybody, because ain't no way what I get done is $323 a month. I don't even use it.
But here's
God, thank God, to God be the glory. I'm in good health.
But here's my pushback, Reverend Black. If they came to you and said, Reverend Black, whether you want to or not, we're going to take $320 and we're going to pay for Timbo down the road health insurance, and it ain't nothing you can do about it.
Well, they do it right now. Do state taxes and federal taxes, federal income taxes. Social Security may not be around by the time you and I need it. All right, we're paying for Medicare that I'm not using, but I'm grateful. I think our principle of kingdom, and of course we got to, not walk a thin line here, is if I'm helping somebody along the way, then my living, I feel like preaching, shall not be in vain.
If you're helping somebody but not being made to help somebody, see, that's a difference.
I am being made to help somebody. They take it out without me asking.
So Mike, let me go one place before Pastor got to get off. What you're stumbling towards is trickle down
economic.
No, that's not. I'm gonna clear it up for you before you finish. What I'm pointing towards is socialism,
Mike. So here's the thing. There's a difference between. Let's be clear. This
universal health care is not socialism.
But this is not universal health care if the top 1% is paying for the bottom 40%. That's socialism.
Hold on. So Mike, here's the deal. One, when the disparity between the top 1% is 500 to 1 in terms of income. 500 to 1. It is even from biblical standard for the strong to bear the infirmity of the weak.
Yeah.
Let's give a clear example. Bloomberg paid $500 million to run his campaign alone. That $500 million, there's only 365 million people in America. He literally could have made everybody a millionaire with his campaign finance.
He could
alone.
have, but because he didn't doesn't make him wrong, because that's his money.
Hold on, Mike. It's evil.
It may be.
To know good.
It may be.
To know what to do that is good and do it not. To him, it is sin.
That's right. You're absolutely right. I agree.
So here's the thing, Mike. Even if you didn't want to disturb the course of things, make everybody a millionaire overnight, one Bloomberg could have given every American $500,000 for medical care that they can only access, if they're getting medical care. He could have given them another $500,000 for education that can only be accessed if they're, going to school.
Romero, I hear what you're saying, but here's some more pushback. Me and you could have came downtown last night and fed every homeless person. We could have. Everyone that we saw.
Mike,
last night I saw 5 homeless people. I could have fed all 5 of them.
Mike, but the impact, what I'm saying is Bloomberg could have did this with zero impact. You have a wife, you have a child.
I could have fed 10. I could have fed 5 of them with no impact.
Mike, you have a wife, you have a child, and hold on, you have a future to secure financially for yourself, your wife, and your child. Bloomberg could have put that $500 million in the fireplace without a second thought.
But do you see how we're controlling his? I hear what you're saying, and it's very true. But how can we control someone else's? That's his money.
Well, the fact of the matter is, I understand both. I understand your approach, Mike, about saying, although I may not have the impact, I just don't want to be forced to do it. I get that, and also the point that Romero makes is absolutely correct. However, we have to think about these 1%ers, most likely receive their wealth on the backs of the 99%.
Come on, bro.
So therefore, it is a give and take. The trickle down economics that Reagan introduced is false, phony, and never. They said if you take care of the 1%, they'll give jobs. Last night, President Trump said this about the minimum wage. Listen, $7.68 is the minimum wage to this day. $1,200 in a whole 6-month pandemic is all, and you're telling somebody who needs government assistance that they're lazy? Come on now. I'm not going to get into what my bills are, but my God, it is by the grace of God that I am not sinking. You understand? That's just is what it is, and I'm not living a middle class life or a higher class life. I am an average American. I have a modest way of living. Okay, so
hold on.
So
the fact but go ahead. I ain't gonna bother you. Go ahead.
Please don't bother me. But nevertheless, it's not a fact where most of these 1%ers have the guy from Amazon who refused to give health care. What's my man's name? What's his name?
Bezos.
Yes, him. He has refused to give health care or even time off for this COVID-19 pandemic. And this man has made a profit during the pandemic on the backs of workers, on the backs of consumers. So I understand your approach, Mike, about saying they are being forced, but it's almost they owe it. This is their debt.
Black, amen, and amen, and amen again. This is the same argument that same argument is why I advocate for at least $15 an hour.
At least. And that's not enough.
And control inflation so that it doesn't become a moot point.
You can't control inflation if you raise.
They're doing it now.
They can.
If you raise it in certain markets don't need $15. So,
Mike, that is absolutely not true. And furthermore, they're controlling inflation now. The Federal Reserve, because of all the money that is being pumped into the economy, because of the stimulus packages, in order to not cheapen the American dollar, for the next 2 years, they are controlling at least 2 years. They are controlling inflation.
As a matter of fact, the Federal Reserve chairman said that he may increase the inflation, so therefore the income can have a safety net because the Congress didn't do anything else with the stimulus package. So they may have to increase groceries. They may have to increase cost of living, so therefore people can pay more to have a safety net for the economy. And it's just so whole much time that a whole hour. We almost need to do this in a mini series, realistically. Because it's a whole lot. But $15 minimum is not a standard. I think it needs to be a minimum. But $15 on the West Coast of Los Angeles,
you'll be homeless.
That person is homeless. You have people who's making six figures, and this is accurately true. Well, that's kind of a double statement. But accurately true. But
it deserves it.
But you have people who are making six figures who is living out of their cars, because you know why? The cost of living in California is way more. But six figures in my state of South Carolina, I'll be balling. Yeah. Literally balling. But I could go to New York. Go ahead. I've been to New York, and Mike and you have been there together. We have driven by places, and the driver have said that place right there is 1-bedroom apartment, $800 square feet. That's $2,300 a month. I'm falling out. My home is more than that, and I paid that in a mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You got 10 of them apartments in your house.
Right. And my square footage is more than that, significantly.
Mm-hmm. Mike.
Yes, sir.
Do not believe the hype.
No. It's not no hype, man. It's not no hype. We just have a difference of opinion.
I'm gonna tell you why trickle down will never work. Trickle down will never work because the people at the top are simply greedy.
Trickle down is working right now because the people at the top employ the 99%.
No, Mike, listen, I made as a married man, I made that $15 an hour working in the plant. I made that $15 an hour. And I'm telling you, if it wasn't for my wife working and for her getting bonuses at her job, the struggle would have been on a whole nother level.
Doc, you preach. I know the struggle.
Mike, that is $15 an hour for me. When I was working as a married man, was $300 a week. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, I agree with you. We not disagreeing.
Trickle down economics, in my opinion, I'm gonna use this statement. In my opinion, is not working. Do you know what's working? The middle class, the lower class, throwing money up.
Yes.
Watch. What do I mean by that? When in 2000, when the housing market crashed or bubble burst, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, it was too big to fail. The tax dollar bailed them out. Watch this now. They got bonuses prior and after. So it was not the trickle down that gave them a parachute. It was the middle class tax dollar, the lower class tax dollar that bailed them out. Let's talk about this stimulus package now. Do you know why Mitch McConnell is telling the White House don't negotiate with Nancy Pelosi? It's because it would help, quote unquote, the election results, which it won't. But you sit here and gave businesses that just last year received major tax credits, and now they got more credits on this stimulus package. I mean, there was all kind of people that was getting these loans, these SBA loans, I'm talking about major corporations. And once again, it was the tax dollar. It was the tax dollar.
20 million.
Yes. Yes, it was. And they still getting bonuses. And guess what? They will audit you, Mike Brown. They will audit you, Romero, Lancaster, and they will audit you and I if we get something wrong on our W-9s, W-2s, 1099s, whatever. They will audit us. They will garnish our wages and probably will want to prosecute us for not understanding the law correctly. But they'll get bonuses and then file bankrupts, sit back and wait to get bailed out from the taxes. So I don't agree with you. In my opinion, trickle-down economics don't work. But what does work is throwing money up. And it's biblical. That's a biblical principle because Abraham, he did a heave offering. He threw it up. So we always supposed to sow up. We're not supposed to sow down. So we're wrong. We're messed up for not, eating the pie.
All right, it's like you said, there's so much more to say, but I gotta end it right here because we got another segment today. But we gonna come back because I have some rebuttal, but I ain't got time. I love it. I ain't got time today. But hey, I thank y'all for coming here. I thank y'all for coming back, man. It's always a great conversation.
I appreciate the platform, Mike. I really do. I don't take it for granted.
So I'm gonna tell y'all what we're doing today. I appreciate y'all, but I'm gonna tell y'all what we're doing today. So maybe next time you can be a part of the conversation. But as a community, we decided to we gonna read books, and so our first book just happens to be Rich Dad Poor Dad, and today we're doing our first kind of review of it. We read the first 3 chapters, but the first chapter is so loaded, we probably just gonna hang out there. Plus, I don't have that much time left, so. But yeah, so if you want to be a part of the conversation, get that book and we discuss it on Fridays.
Awesome. We'll do. Yeah. Hey, man, appreciate your life, Doc. I really do.
Thank you, man. All right, y'all have a wonderful, prosperous rest of y'all day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, peace. Well, you heard it here on the Mike Brown Morning Show. There's always differences of opinion, but just because we disagree does not mean that we cannot be agreeable. See, we don't have to see everything the same, but we can still be agreeable. Don't nobody hate nobody. We just don't think the same way. All right, I'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. It's the Mike Brown Morning Show right here on the Urban Uplift.
Right here. The Mike Brown Morning Show.
Wake up, baby, when you wake up, hit it in the morning.
Heard weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Urban Uplift.
A little passion in my tone. I ain't mad at nobody. I just feel how I feel about things. And just because I feel how I feel about it doesn't mean I'm right. And just because you feel how you feel about it doesn't mean you're right. We could both be wrong. But you know who's right all the time? God is. That's why we got to seek him to see what to do and how to do and when to do and when not to. That's what we got to do. Now, I just think as African Americans, there are some things that we were just at a disadvantage with. And it's mainly because of our existence in this country. A lot of things we just were not privy to until we were privy to them. And a lot of that happened over time. Some things we're still not privy to. Some things we are privy to if we seek the knowledge. Some things are available to us, but we don't go after it. There was a saying that I used to hear a lot going through school, grade school and high school. Just in life in general, you'd hear people say, if you want to hide something from black people, put it in a book. And sad but true. But people have to understand the generations of people that may have been illiterate because of the effects of slavery. See, we can't take it for granted. We can't take it for granted that we can read. That's how serious it is. I'm sorry, that's how serious it is being black in America. We can't take for granted that we can read. Thank you, Jesus. Because the oppression that was placed up on us has a lasting effect. And so, God, thank you for the ability to read, to write, to comprehend, to do math. I mean, not because we couldn't do it before. We did it before. We had our own language. We thrived. We were kings and queens. We were royalty. But to be stripped of that, and then the people that were that die, and then you have generations that are born into a way of life that were treated less than. It's a blessing today that I can sit here behind this microphone and you can understand what I'm saying. That's a blessing. We don't take that lightly. I still, however, maintain that there are certain things that are readily available for our white counterparts that we have to go out of our way to learn and understand, because it's just not available to us openly. Now, lawfully, it has to be available, but it's different ways that they try to go about us not getting the information. It's so easy, in my opinion, for politicians to sell us a bill of goods. Is that the right word? The right way to say that? In other words, a whole bunch of nothing. And we accept it because it sounds good, because it sounds good for our community. But the truth of the matter is, and this is me talking, this is Mike Brown, they don't care about us. Michael Jackson tried to tell us. He said, all I really, what did he say? All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. I don't know what he was talking about. When I'm talking about white people don't care about black people. I don't care if they Democrat or Republican. It just is what it is. Their allegiance to each other in a race is stronger than their allegiance to a party. Understand that. Please understand that. We are just a pawn. All right. So the reason that I wanted to get into Rich Dad, Poor Dad is because the devil is a liar. Okay. The reason I wanted to get into Rich Dad, Poor Dad is because I believe that there are some fundamental truths that we can take, that we can apply, that we can ignite ourselves again to build that community that I know is coming. In this decade, you're listening to a millionaire right now. This decade is going to prove that. Now understand that God reveals things all the time. I mean, there's no replacement for the Bible. I'm not saying that. So don't think I'm saying that when you read books, you on a higher level. And I mean, that could be argued. But I'm not saying that anything that we're going to talk about is outside of the Bible. But I'm saying sometimes let's do this too. Let's try to see if we can get some practicality out of this too. I mean, let's reason together. All right. So, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The author's name is Robert Kiyosaki. He's from Hawaii, and he's still very, very relevant today in the world of finance. The name of the book, of course, the reason it's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad is because Robert has a friend. His friend's name is Mike. Mike's dad was an entrepreneur, and he owned stores and land and houses, and he owned a lot of stuff. Robert's dad was an educator. He was like a top ranking educator in Hawaii. and he made a lot of money. So the reason that Robert calls Mike's dad Rich Dad and he calls his own father Poor Dad is because of the mindsets that they had that were very contrasting. And Robert arrived at that not in a disrespectful way, but just in a way to, I believe, for the reader to understand the difference in the mentality. See, he called Mike's dad Rich Dad because he had a rich mindset. And he called his dad Poor Dad because, unfortunately, he had a poor mindset. Not that he was poor, but he didn't understand money. But more than that, he didn't care to understand money. So that already right there separated them. So, chapter 1. The title of chapter 1 says so much. Well, let me go back to the title of the book first. On the page, on the cover of the book, it says, let me get back to it because I want to say it verbatim. What the rich teach their kids about money that the poor and middle class do not. What the rich, let's chew on that. This is what the rich teach their kids about money that the poor and the middle class do not. Let's look at that. When we think about rich, we think about wealth on a whole nother level, but more than that, we think about it being generational. We think about it being passed down and passed on. The thing about it is, there is something that the rich knows that the poor and the middle class does not. And so that's why it can be generational, because they just keep replicating it and keep repeating it. At the same token, that's why the poor and middle class is generational as well, because they keep repeating and replicating the same thing. So, I mean, those are absolute principles that already apply. You innately teach what it is that you do. Your children learn what it is that you do. But we want to teach them something that they can take with them that's going to be beneficial for the rest of their lives. All right. So the first thing that stuck out for me, and if you want to be a part of this conversation, I'll tell you what, we only got a few minutes, but you can be a part of this conversation. If you want, I'm going to let you call in. You can call 313-327-6551. 313-327-6551. First thing that stuck out to me in the book was the ambition, the audacity of a child. What do I mean? Robert went to his dad and said, "Dad, I want you to teach me how to make money." And his daddy laughed at him. He like, "What do you mean? Teach you how to make money?" And so his dad was like, "Okay, well, just go make money," or something like that, right? This boy, him and his friend, they literally took those words to heart. And I think Robert said something like, teach me to be rich or something like that. And his dad said, in order to be rich, you have to make money. So Robert and Mike said, we're going to make money. So they literally were counterfeiting nickels. At that time, they were made a certain kind of way out of real nickel material. And so Robert and Mike figured out a way. They set up shop in the driveway, and they were actually counterfeiting money in the driveway. But they were 9 years old, so they didn't know. So when Robert's dad saw what they were doing, he was like, he had to sit them down and have a conversation with them about what they were doing. And it was like, well, yeah, but you told us to make money. This is how we're going to be rich. We have to make money. And so Robert's dad said, if you want to know, if you want to learn about money, if you want to learn how to be rich, go and talk to Mike's dad. So that's the first thing that sticks out to me, that a child could be so ambitious and at 9 years old. Like, don't be surprised. Like give your children room to dream, and because you never know like what they're thinking. Like at 9 years old, I don't know if I thought rich at 9 or how to make money at 9. That's crazy. Okay, so let me move on. So although Robert's dad didn't know how to make money, and when I say make money, let's replace the word make money with generate money. He didn't know how to generate money per se, but he knew that there was a difference from generating money and just getting paid. But here's the thing. He seemed to be okay with that because he went to school. He got his degrees. He was a top educational official. I think he was like a superintendent of schools or something like that. So he was okay with getting paid, but he understood that he didn't make money. He didn't generate money. He just got paid. That one thing right there automatically separated Robert's dad from Mike's dad. See, Mike's dad didn't necessarily work for anybody. He owned stuff. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but as we read a little bit further, we'll see where assets was his income. As opposed to Robert's dad, all of his income was what he got paid in his paycheck. So the mindset there was already different. Because here it is, Mike's dad, his income potential was really uncapped because assets grow. Where it is, Robert's dad, he may have gotten a raise or a percentage of a raise every year or something like that, but you have to wait. And then there are a whole bunch of other factors involved in whether or not you even get the raise. So, but I have to give Robert's dad credit because he understood, like, this is my lane and I'm okay with it. Now, I'm not saying be complacent, but I am saying understand that when you don't understand something, understand that. Like, he had the wherewithal to say, I don't know how to teach my son this, and I see this is what he wants to know, so I'm going to point him in the right direction. So Robert goes to Mike's dad, and he says, I want to learn about money. I want you to teach me how to be rich. So he goes on, he hires him. He pays them 10 cents an hour for 3 hours, and they work on Saturdays. And so Robert like, no, I can't work on Saturdays. I got baseball. And he said, do you want me to teach you or not? Because if I teach you, this is the contingency of me teaching you. This is how it's going to be. If I teach you, this is how it's going to have to happen. So Robert works. After a couple of weeks, Robert like, this ain't enough money. I need to get paid more. So he goes, he has a conversation with Mike's dad. And so Mike's dad was happy that Robert came to have the conversation, because he was like, most adults don't do this. They just accept it and move on. I'm glad that you came to have the conversation. Now I want you to work for free. And Robert was like, are you crazy? What? Why am I working for free? Mike's dad said, you want to learn, don't you? This is so rich. This is so powerful, because the 10 cents, all that did was motivate him to use his brain, to think. It motivated him to think. That's the point that Mike's dad was trying to get over to Robert and Mike. He was like, you have to use what it is that's in your mind. So here is one of the main things that comes out of chapter 1. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. In other words, the poor and the middle class exchange their time for money. They have to. In their minds, that's what they got to do. If I don't work, if I don't work, I don't get paid. If I don't get paid, I don't get money. If I don't get money, I can't pay my bills. But there is a way to transition from that. We just have to want to do it. Now, I lost my place. The devil is a liar. There was something that I needed to read right there. I'm going to find it. Okay. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. So the assets that you acquire, they over time work for you. And in the book, assets are defined as anything that puts money in your pocket. Anything that you bring in, that's what an asset is. On the other hand, liabilities are anything that takes money away. So then it becomes a conversation of liabilities versus assets. Assets versus liabilities. Then the conversation came up about taxes. Robert couldn't believe. So Mike's dad was like, I'm paying you the 30 cents. He was like, at least you get 100% of it. Most adults, they don't even get 100% of what they earn. They get money taken out of it. And Robert was like, how could this be? And so Mike's dad, he was a straight shooter from what I can tell. Like y'all would probably call him a Republican, because he would basically say, I can almost hear Donald Trump saying, because I'm smart. But basically he's saying like, well, how is it? Because Mike's dad said to Robert, I probably paid less taxes than your father, but I made more money than your father. And so Mike and Robert like, how could this be? And he's like, well, the rich have an opportunity to pay less because, and now this is in my own words, but you'll see it when you read it here, but it's because they fund America. Now, and so we were just talking in our last segment about a trickle-down economy. Maybe that's the wrong words. Maybe it's a bad connotation, whatever, but anybody that works for anybody, and right now I still work for somebody right now, but I got my own thing going too. Get your own thing going too. If you hear me, if you listen to me, yes, you work for somebody. We work for somebody, but get your own thing going too. But if you work for somebody, I got news for you. You are a part of the trickle-down economy. Period. How can you not be? You are. And most of us work for multi-million-dollar companies. You being an employee there, guess what that is? Trickle down. Well, how is that trickle down? Well, when I get my check, they're going to take taxes out. They're going to take taxes. They're going to take Social Security. Yeah. And I don't get to choose whether or not they take it out. It is what it is. That's what's going to happen. So how is that not trickle down? And how is it not expedient? I'm not going to use the word fair, but how is it not expedient? Because the company that employs you employs thousands of you. There are thousands of other people on your level or under or above that's employed by this company. So in their minds, they are contributing to the wealth of our nation or the sustainability of it. So it can be argued that because I contribute in this way, that maybe I don't have to contribute as much in this way. That could be argued. I mean, we talk a lot about equality and equity, but we only talk about it when it benefits us. See, and I guess I'm speaking like this because I know where I plan on going. And when I get there, don't try to control my narrative. I know what the Bible says about what I'm supposed to do, give to the poor and take care of the widows and make sure you do benevolence. And I know that. And if I'm going to be obedient to the word, if I'm going to walk in the spirit, I'm going to do those things. But what you can't do is come and demand from what's mine. You can't do it, because if they do it on that level, then you got to do it on every level. And this is where I'll end here for today. I'm going to pick up. I guess I got to pick up on chapter 1 next time. I thought when I said multiple chapters, I wasn't thinking, because this is too much to chew. So I'm going to get into chapter 2 next time though. I'm going to start at the end of chapter 1 next time. I'm going to get into chapter 2. But I want to end here. We can't have it both ways. I want you to understand that no matter what anybody says, everybody pays taxes. If you don't, then there's a big penalty that you got to pay, or you're going to go to jail. Everybody pays taxes. They want us to get caught up in the semantics of it so that we can raise a lot of noise when it's time to vote. We understand this. We are not a part of those conversations. Why? Because we don't have the money to be a part of those conversations. Those conversations don't affect us. What we need to try to figure out how to do and what to do, what we need to try to figure out how to do is get out of the employee cycle and become the employer. And I guarantee you, when you become the employer, you don't want somebody saying this is what you gonna do. How you gonna tell me that when I'm contributing to society at even a higher rate? And understand this too. For every one of us that gets paid, the employer also pays payroll tax. See, we got to see this thing the whole way. Now I pay you. You pay taxes. They make you pay taxes. And they also make me pay payroll taxes for having you as an employee. We're gonna pick back up there next week. Still in chapter 1. It's almost the end of chapter 1 where they're talking about taxes. I hope you had a great day today. I know I did. Great commentary, great conversation, great dialogue, great monologue. I want you to be a part of the conversation. How can you do that? Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's the Mike Brown Morning Show. Well, go to YouTube, type in The Mike Brown Morning Show. Do that for me. Subscribe. Tell somebody else to download the Urban Uplift app. I want you to have a wonderful, prosperous weekend. Do something great. Do something fun. Love everybody. I'll see you right here on Monday. We're going to do it again. Have a wonderful, prosperous rest of your day and weekend. Peace.
Wake up. Right here. The Mike Brown Morning Show.
Wake up, baby, won't you wake up? Hit it in the morning.
Heard weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Right here on the Urban Uplift.